my top three issues are still, affordable housing, community safety, and then either sustainability or environmental concerns. And if we were allowed to really do the policies that I know can work, that I think a lot of municipalities and cities have done across the country, we would do them. We often have to do it what we call the Durham workaround because of the constraints of the General Assembly. We have an amazing affordable housing strategy. I actually encourage all young voters. It's called Durham Forever, I think is the website, and it lets you, or home, I'll put it in the chat. So I think it's either Durham Home Forever or Forever Home Durham. I think it's Forever Home Durham. And it's letting folks really get into the weeds around affordable housing and what we're doing with the bond money. So it was 95 million, but then when you add that with the federal money that we're going to get through tax credits and other things, it's I think it's $165 million. So it's a lot of money. There's a lot of things that we need to do there, a lot of good work. A plan is only as effective as how you implement it. So I think for me, the big priority is implementing that as effectively as possible. So that's what I think we need to do on affordable housing. And then adjacent to that is our land use policies, because how the kinds of rules and regulations we have around land use really affects the affordability of the product. And in this case, that's housing. And so then how can we really work? I think developers get a bad rap, and sometimes they should, and sometimes we have to work really, really hard with them so that we can get what we call market rate housing, because not everyone's going to qualify for a, affordable, so a public subsidy attached to it. Not everyone's going to qualify for that. The second part is community safety, or the second issue is community safety. And as I said, I want to use that terminology because I really want us to think broadly about what does it mean to have a safe community. Obviously, gun violence is huge. We know that there's been a spike in Durham. It causes a huge amount of pain and trauma in the neighborhoods that are being affected by it. And we know that that area of the city is expanding. I hear gunfire pretty regularly near my house. And that hadn't really happened since when we first got here. So it was there when we first got here, kind of gone away, and now it's back. So I want to ensure that when somebody calls 911, that the right response shows up, whether it's an armed police officer or a mental health professional, or sometimes you have a traffic incident, a fender bender of sorts, and you don't need a police officer. You just need someone to show up to write the report for your car insurance, and that's it. And so we want to make sure that we are responding to that in an efficient, effective manner. And I think a lot of folks think, oh, abolish the police. And what I think folks are missing is, like, for me at least, it's really about reallocating resources to where they're actually needed. We also funded a lot this past year with the Violence Interrupter Program, which is really dealing with the prevention of violence. So kind of like what you do in schools when teachers and other mentors really bring kids to deal with conflict. It's the same kind of issue, but out in the community. And I want to make sure that that program is super successful, and that if we need to add more resources to it, we can. And then the third issue is sustainability. We passed a really amazing, I guess it was a proclamation, but we changed the way that we're doing, we made a commitment to lower our carbon footprint, essentially, and to make the conversion to green energy. And so to do that, to actually meet that goal, we have to really shift how the city does things. One of the things we were able to do this past year was re-enter into an MOU, a memorandum of understanding with Duke Energy for the first time in a long time. Those are those are contracts that last for a long time. This one, we lowered it to 15 years so that we have an opportunity to look at that better. And it's going to allow the city to actually produce its own energy. So we can put as many green energy sources as we can on city property, which helps us, because we are a huge producer of energy, lower our footprint. It's also, we're aligning it to our sustainability plan. We're also aligning it to what kinds of what we call fleet, so the kinds of cars and trucks and things that the city buys, so that we're really being efficient. So those are all some of the things, and eventually we're going to have to do a lot more. One thing that I know I'm very, very interested in and want to do is that we know that the green energy sector of jobs is just a huge opportunity, and that lots of folks can go with, and you don't have to get a 4-year degree. You can get a 2-year degree, a solar tech, things like that. And those, we should be figuring out a way to get Durham Tech to offer that type of degree. And we should be encouraging kids in Durham to get that kind of degree, because it's not a job that can be outsourced. You're not shipping that job somewhere else. And I think it's a way to get people into really well-paid jobs that then put us where we need to be when I think about environmental policy and sustainability.
The first thing that I would do is to learn the culture. You know, you have to learn by sitting in that seat what a mayor actually does and how I would intersect with the other departments within the city and the city manager, as well as how that intersection would be with our other public service organizations. For instance, you know, you have your school systems, there's an intersection there. You have a county commissioners, there's an intersection there. So the first thing that I would do is to take the time to learn the culture and the language of City Hall and how all of that interfaces in Durham. So that's the first thing that I would do. The second thing that I would try to focus in on is trying to assess where we are now as a city. In most of our distressed communities, you know, we have similar problems, but one size does not fit all. So we really have to take the opportunity to figure out where we are and where we want to go. And you also have to center the voices that are impacted most in that conversation. So that would be what I would try to do next, is to get a clear picture, as clear as we can, of how our communities all across Durham are doing it. Now, we have a problem in collecting data that's accessible for all of the intersections. So that's one of the things that I really want to focus on, is make sure that we get good data. And so that we can begin to figure out goals and objectives that are community led, so that we can do the things that our neighbors say they need to have done in their neighborhoods to help them to be the best, to live their best lives. So that will be the next thing that I would do, is to try to get an assessment. And the third thing is really has been one of the highlights of my career in trying to, in terms of passion, and that's you all. I would like to be able to help to create a system for you all to have all of the things that you need to be successful, where we have places that you can go other than the mall to hang out, right? And you all pick those things, those that we have clear career paths for you all. I am a part of an organization called Made in Durham, and it's our hope that by the time you all reach 24, 25 in Durham, that you will have a clear idea of where you're going in Durham and how you're gonna get there. So I would really want to create a system that's connected with the public service agencies, educational systems, and as well as our community partners. So I'm really looking forward to being able to talk to you all and get you all immersed in that process of what that system looks like, especially for those who are most vulnerable, our most vulnerable young people.
I know that I possess a bold new vision, and my goal would be to revive our economy. And I would like to address again our public health crisis, work to create economic and racial balances and levels of parity here. And I'd also like to focus on climate change and climate justice as a specific integral way to fight climate change here in Durham specifically. What I'd like to do, and what I've been focused on in the last couple of years, is engaging with the comprehensive plan that Durham has recently began to redo. And that focuses on areas, our watersheds, our areas of housing, zoning, who can build, what they can build, how we actually work within our community and engaging each other, resources for our students, in addition to innovations that will be available once Google and Apple and companies like that move here to provide jobs. This long-range plan, our comprehensive plan, our old one was a lot outdated. And unfortunately, what it did was, and no matter how altruistic or forward-thinking sometimes our plans are, we can leave people behind. We can have folks that fall through the cracks of our social services system. We can have increased displacements just by building newer and better homes somewhere. And what we'll understand now with our comprehensive plan and getting everyone in Durham, there's over 300,000 people. Right now, if you go to the comprehensive plan website, we've probably had maybe over 1,000 people complete a survey. That's not enough. We need more engagement, more energy from folks, all hands on deck at this point, because of what's going on with this pandemic, with our very basic needs and services. So when I am elected, my first goal would be for us to pull out our plans and let's figure out those ways that we can mark off or our accomplishments, I should say, as we start to accomplish our goals in the comprehensive plan, we can start to mark them off. Handling some of the historic issues that Durham has faced is one of my additional plans. We have a lot of history here. In addition to Black Wall Street, there's a strong Native American history here with the Occaneechi tribes and a few of the other folks that had come through here well before our first train rode through. But the goal here is to acknowledge that, and the folks that have made sacrifices and contributions to Durham, to continue to honor them and to continue to focus on the progeny, the grandkids and the future. I'm a mom of a 7-year-old. So my goal would be to create a more comprehensive plan for him 10 years down the line when he's a graduate of high school and looking to go to college here locally. I think there's a lot for us to do around those 19 points in that comprehensive plan, and to engage it now, to open it up for innovation. And I mean innovation in the way that that's the old school Detroit did Motown, the Motor City. We're a place that can house electric car companies. We have a lot going on in RTP right now that we're developing, and Durham is right there in tandem. So there are ways that we need to fight poverty. There are ways that we should fight homelessness. And there's also very intrinsic ways that we can work with the inequities that have been building upon for several years here in Durham. Moving from South Florida to Durham, I came here for the opportunities and for the history. And one of the biggest things that I noticed about this area was that it was a springboard to all kinds of folks internationally. And we can regain that and continue that once this pandemic is over, welcoming in plush new experiences and opportunities, giving the way to righting the wrongs of history's past and moving forward towards a brighter future.
So with the climate, the environment, you know, Durham is doing an amazing amount of work already in this regard, as far as collaborative work with monopolies such as Duke Power and others. Steve Schewel rolled out, and the city council rolled out, the Green New Durham, the energy policy. That is some amazing work that needs to be held up with urgency, and it needs to be communicated in such a way that people take personal responsibility. I think one of the biggest issues where this particular issue is concerned is people taking personal responsibility. And so my hope would be that as mayor, I could help ignite a fire, for lack of a better analogy, for people to be a part. My second top priority would be the issues of housing in Durham. There's a need for affordable housing, but it's a need that the community is fully aware of and has given, said yes to, as far as the bond, the 2019 affordable housing bond that we all voted affirmatively for. So there are monies that are in that we have that the city council and the mayor are working hard to allocate appropriately, and that have begun utilizing. So we want to continue that, but we also need to invest in, again, some shared housing creative responses that I believe, again, is in part engaging people personally. And what I mean is that, we have a wide gap in socioeconomics here in Durham, and we have a lot of people who have a lot, and we have a lot of people who don't have enough. And I want to help people come to the realization that through personal responsibility, they can do better at sharing and assisting people, especially in crisis circumstances, like with the coming moratorium of the rental, and with the prospect of so many people becoming homeless as a result of that. So we've got to be creative and think really fast, and we've got to use that money appropriately, and we got to get people engaged. The third, sorry, I'm going on, public safety. Gun control. The state of North Carolina makes it really hard for us here in Durham to facilitate the kinds of policy we would like to in regards to gun control. And so I think it goes toward spending some time and energy, again, addressing the root causes of the kind of violence that we're seeing. Where, what are the root causes? What is causing it? And honestly, it goes back to speaking of the issues that we were talking about, housing, kind of Maslow's theory. You got to address these primary issues, these basic needs of everyone, and mental health issues, in order to understand and address the root issues regarding violence in Durham. But we got to get the guns off the street too. So, but that will take a lot of collaborative work and a lot of advocating on behalf of the entire state of North Carolina. So, but those are the top three.